6:30 here in Sydney. Good morning, Americans. Tuesday evening, wherever you are, guys. Let me know where you're tuning in from. Man, it's busy. This is a busy weekend. I think we underestimated how many fight cards are going down this week. So we're going to go over that. Initially, we're going to talk about what the title of this video is. We're going to talk about a big fight in the heavyweight division between Fabio Wardley and Justis Huni. And then, like always, you guys could add your questions and we could get the chat going. I'm going to let this simmer a bit. Remember, whenever you do tune into this, could you please like this video? Let me know where your odds are. I know there's a lot of people in my community are boxing heads. So feedback is always appreciated. And we could get this started shooting the first questions. Like I said, like this video, comment. What up, Cedric Walcott? Where's your money at this weekend, buddy? You know, after the last few weeks, when people ask me, are there any locks? I always tell them there's no such thing as locks in boxing. Justis Huni needs to take Fabio to deep waters. Easy dub if he can. T. Rich. Yeah, man. I was telling people, if you watch my breakdown and then in the comment section, Fabio Wardley, you know, when you're game planning, because we have to, as bettors and gamblers, we have to come, the people who win money, like a lot of us, we have to come at this like a coach. Like whatever guy we're betting on, you have to have the mental framework like you're in fight camp, at least what you see while you're putting your money on said fighter. And with Wardley, I don't want to call him one-dimensional, but the game plan, I mean, everyone has a game plan until you get hit in the face. You know, that's a famous quote. But, you know, I'd like to think Huni's going to have a game plan that's going to be able to outbox him. I haven't put nothing yet. Yeah, and said there's a lot of fights, guys. A fight card, there's some fight cards that are flying under the radar that my book has just released odds for that maybe you guys aren't aware of. No one's talking about these fight cards. Friday night here in Australia. So you guys got action Thursday night. I don't know if you guys like the juice, if you like waiting for the last fight card of the weekend. If you want action, there's a card in Montreal, Canada. The main event and the co-main are two top 20 light heavyweights. And the odds are nice. And that's Albert Ramirez and then Mehmet Unal. Let me know if you guys are getting those odds. Unal is a Turkish former kickboxer. He's ranked number 20 in the world. He's undefeated. He's a light heavyweight boxer. And Albert Ramirez is ranked number 10 globally at light heavyweight. They are both fighting different opponents in Canada. My Friday, your Thursday. And right now the odds, you know, Unal and Ramirez are favorites. Fabio can punch like Thanos, though, so one punch, it's over with. Yeah, I mean, so far, right? You know, we've seen that happen with heavyweights when they up the competition. Sounds like a Mike Tyson quote. Yeah, my favorite, of course, said, yeah. He had cussed, man. I'm a huge Tyson fan. You know, I've studied his whole, you know, I used to do little boxing documentaries. So everything about, you know, what Cuss did for him, you know, how they study tape. People who don't understand, a lot of people, maybe casuals, don't know that Tyson was a student of the game. When he would go up to that cabin in upstate New York that Cuss, his family owned, he had this projector screen. And I know you know this, said, and he would watch every fight ever. Cuss just happened to have this library of all the old golden era boxing matches. And Tyson really became a student of the game. And Tyson is, you know, he studied conquerors, global conquerors. And you always hear him talk about Genghis Khan, and you always hear him talk about Napoleon. And when you rewatch his career, some of the quote unquote, what the casual said, the wild stuff he said, either post-fight or in ring, like the famous one, "I'll eat your kids." He was referring to when Genghis Khan, the Wrath of Khan, would invade other countries and invade other territories. That's what they did. They didn't leave anybody behind. And so he was in that, yeah, Alexander the Great. He was in that conquering mindset. And then, you know, when you start really digging deep about what Cuss would do with Tyson, Cuss was also a hypnotist. Cuss D'Amato was like a trained, studied psychologist, hypnotist. And Tyson talked about on record multiple times how he would be almost hypnotized in an aura before his fights. And one of these interviews recently, you know, in the last 10 years I saw Tyson give, the interviewer asked him, well, did Cuss ever dehypnotize you? And Mike was like, he was laughing. He was like, I don't think so. And they both started laughing. And it's just a funny thought process because Tyson would go into those fights as if he were a warrior in war. And, you know, no robe, no rappers dancing behind him, no show, like Prince Nassim Ahmed would come in on a car of floating carpet rides. Look at some of the walkouts. Tyson would come out, no music, and just run out and made that no, the famous black high shoes and no socks and the black shorts, and that dude was a scary proposition. There was a small time in the world in that timeline where he was the most feared fighter on earth. But whoever said Wardley has that one punch, even fighters with one punch, they don't always get it. And if you check the post section on the channel this morning, I just posted the timeline of Wardley's career. And, Cuss had his mindset Tyson was a god. Yeah. Sed knows what he's talking about. Guys, wherever you're tuning into this, let's like this video. Let me know who you like this weekend. I'm leaning on Huni. I'm leaning on Justis Huni. Boxing skill-wise, people talk, even like experience. Everybody talks about like they're leaning with Wardley because of his power and his experience, but Huni has more pro rounds fought based off of their styles. Wardley's only gone to the 10th once, and that was a draw. All of his work gets done early. Huni comes from a storied amateur background. Wardley doesn't have an amateur background. This is what makes Wardley's career even more fascinating. 0 amateur fights, and I put this up in our community section. Wardley was a Brit who is working in the recruitment industry and as a recruiter. And I know this because I used to I have a second room here, and I used to rent it out years ago to a British kickboxer. And he taught me about, like, in the UK, I could see it. In the UK, they have a thing called blue-collar boxing. So blue-collar boxing is sort of like these events that they have for the white-collar, the corporate, the bankers, the financiers, the recruiters, and they do like a training camp at a real boxing gym, and then they fight each other. And Wardley did some of those fights, and then he turned pro. Clark in his first fight. Yeah, that's it. Draw. That's the most ring experience he has, that 12-rounder. And then we know what happened in the second fight, in the rematch. He starched him. When you watch people who don't really know much about Justis Huni, and I did the video, in the highlight video, in the first 30 seconds, I show him stopping Paul Gallen, and everyone's like, oh, that was a football player. Yeah, Paul Gallen was a rugby player, and I only know about Gallen because I live in Sydney, but there's a lot of heavyweights in Australia, and Gallen, this dude was like boxing is in the culture down here in Australia. Like these guys, all these rugby guys box as well. I need to leave heavy. Yeah, I'm not going to go heavy on that fight. Like I said, on my long parlay, I'm probably not going to throw this fight on there. I might do a method of victory. Whatever side you're leaning on, that's what I told you guys. If you're leaning on, the odds are pretty wild. If you're leaning on Huni to win by decision, the odds right now are really nice. And then Wardley to win by knockout, that's where all the money's coming on. I like I said, there's some Canadian fights. I'd like to see if you guys are getting those odds on Montreal. Callum Simpson is fighting this weekend. Guys, Friday, these are the dates in Australia. And so if you're in America, you're going to be a day behind. Friday night, we have the Canadian card in Montreal with 2 top 20 light heavyweights, Mehmet Unal and Albert Ramirez. Saturday, we have the card with Joshua Kelly. We already covered that fight. Sunday, these are separate cards. Fabio Wardley card, Keyshawn Davis card, Jai Apatai card, Nakatani card, and the Callum Simpson fight, which nobody's talking about. Callum Simpson is ranked number 13 globally at super middleweight. Nobody's talking about it. It's for one of those British titles that the winner will then be projected to fight for a world title. There is a lot of boxing this weekend globally, and there is a lot of money to be made. I think it's going to come down to being patient and picking the right fights. I grew up with Jai's Warrior Will Never Lose. Yeah, and I'm really excited to see that fight. And Jai's fighting in Queensland, guys, if you don't know that. That's going to be in America or in Australia, that's going to be our Sunday night. So Sunday night, guys, Aussies, we got the Jai fight in Australia, and then we got Nakatani fighting as well. So there's so much boxing, and for us, it starts Friday night. So I'm going to be, stay tuned to the channel. I'm going to be breaking those fights down. I just uploaded last night my prediction of Justis Huni. I'm taking Huni to beat Wardley based off of his boxing acumen. What's up, GOAT? And then today, right after this live, I'm going to be uploading Keyshawn versus Edwin De Los Santos. And I see a lot of money coming back on De Los Santos. This fight is in Norfolk, Virginia. Keyshawn's family is going to be there. His brothers are fighting on the card. And I'm interested where you guys are leaning on that. There's some interesting method of victories. If you just want to avoid picking a winner, And that's something I'm going to be experimenting this week on, because there's so many fights, is on some of these 50-50 fights or some of these closer fights. I think I'm going to, mess around with the will the fight go the distance. I know a lot of you guys will do round over and under round betting, or will there be a stoppage, or knockout prop bets. But right now, on the Keyshawn's $1.14, De Los Santos is $6.50, and will the fight go the distance? Yeah, will the fight go the distance is $1.60. So if you see the favorite there is Keyshawn. If you see him winning, you have to ask yourself, how do you see Keyshawn winning? Do you see him stopping Edwin De Los Santos, or do you see him win by decision? I was showing Gary, there's a clip of Frank Martin saying Edwin is having Keyshawn gonna win. Edwin is having some complications. What complications are you referring to? Like weight cutting? Like, is he big? Or injury? Like musculoskeletal, bones? Key to stop. Okay, so Meech, Keyshawn to win by stoppage. That goes to 3-1. Frank didn't go into details. What happened to Frank, mate? That's a guy that I thought we would see more of since the Gervonta fight. Frank was boxing good until he wasn't. And when you rewatch the Frank Martin versus Tank fight and you see why Frank lost, it shows why experience is so important. Gonna have Norfolk on fire. I live here in yeah. Dude, Meech, and Norfolk, Keyshawn is stirring the echoes of Pernell Whitaker. You know what I mean? People don't remember. Pernell was one of my favorite fighters watching as a kid, and Sweet Pea is from Virginia. And I just saw Keyshawn posting on his Instagram when Keyshawn was a kid. He had a photo of Pernell. And it's a shame Pernell's not still around, but home of the Clips. I mean, Mike Vick, Virginia, VA. I think NERD. Wasn't Pharrell from Virginia? Early days, he used to rep VA all the time. Timberland. I mean, VA always, in that area, that Norfolk area, great athletes coming out of that area. AI, was it Iverson? Don't give me, I'm just throwing, I'm thinking I'm right on that, and I'm not pulling this up. This is just based off my memory. Didn't Iverson play, wasn't he a quarterback star yeah, there you go, DJ. Of course, and there's just some stellar athletes that come out of that area. And when there's young up-and-comers, and people were talking about, somebody commented, I had to check them, about Keyshawn's a top prospect. I'm like, man, Keyshawn is the WBO world champion. He's not a prospect, man. This dude's a world champion. This fight's he's putting his world title on the line. And Virginia's the type of place where he comes from. I mean, just watch that. I think it was the Lemos fight, right? His fight in Virginia. The crowd is insane. And they really rally around their hometown guys. And I think Keon is on that card, and so is Kelvin. So that's an exciting card. And I like those of you guys who are more familiar with VA than me. How many people does that arena hold where they're fighting at? Because I'm trying to pull it up. I wish that on BoxRec, when you see the event, I wish it would show you the capacity of the arena. Because, I mean, for whatever it is, it's still some data. It's still a statistic that nerds like myself would probably take into consideration a bit when you're thinking about hometown favorites. Keyshawn versus Edwin's already here. Yeah, isn't that crazy? 9K, and that's perfect. It's like 10K is perfect. Think about all those fights Bud had in Omaha. When he was coming up and going from 35 to 40, Bud would pack that little arena in Omaha, and the place would be insane. Hopefully a key stoppage for DLS, 2 years inactivity. Yeah, these De Los Santos, though, when you watch his tape and you watch his film, he is a tough guy to pick against. You know what I mean? Like, when I mean, and I'm not saying I'm picking him. Yeah, Mar the Machine, I appreciate you. Guys, wherever you are, like that like button. Hit the like button. Jab it. And then let's keep this conversation rolling. It's my Wednesday morning. I've been doing these live streams every day for about a week and a half. This is going to be the second week where I'm against you and Gary. I'm picking Fabio. Go for it. Go. You've been on fire, mate. And this is why, like, I have a long-term approach with my channel. I have a long-term approach with my experience giving critical analysis and betting on these winners. So in my head, I'm looking forward to like where my knowledge will be. And I know the game in and out, but in terms of who I'm picking, in my head, I'm like, where I'm going to be a year from now, I'm going to be way better than I am right now. And so when I pick And what I mean by that is the Wardley versus Huni fight. When I pick Huni, part of me is like, am I picking Huni because of recency bias, because and favoritism bias, because I live here in Australia and I've watched Huni's whole career. You know what I'm saying? So we'll see. And if you are going to take, the two fights Wardley had with the draw and then him knocking him out, it's good to hear different. Yeah, 100%. We don't have an echo chamber here. The last thing, guys, I ever want is for you boys to agree with me just to agree with me. We don't learn that way. And how can we hold each other accountable? This is a hard game we're in, but dude, there's money to be made, and a lot of, and then GOAT fights that you might go against the grain. You won last week, and I'm still cheering for you, even though I lost. So that's the good thing. That's what community is all about. When I was talking about De Los Santos, when you look at his resume and you watch De Los Santos' tape and how he fights, he's 16-2, 14 knockouts. He's a fun Dominican fighter. Even how he lost against Shakur, you get the people who are De Los Santos fans are going to say Shakur ran, and Shakur fans are going to say Shakur outboxed De Los Santos, and De Los Santos didn't have the skills to cut off the ring. I think Keyshawn's performance is going to be somewhere in between that. You got to think Keyshawn is going to take what Shakur did against De Los Santos regarding neutralizing his offense. If he has the skills to do it, I'm not quite sure if Keyshawn could do what Shakur does in terms of his defense and his intuitiveness of being able to be there and not be there and hit and not get hit. But we're going to see. And his only other loss was to William Foster, a split decision. But who's his best win? Probably the Rayo knockout, right? You'd have to think that, and is that what we're leaning on? Are we leaning on the Rayo knockout? Yeah, I think Keyshawn, and that's landslide, that's a good bet. Because as hard as it is for me to bet against Edwin Rayo, he took that fight on very late notice as well. As hard as it is for me to bet against Edwin, he's just happening to be fighting Keyshawn, who comes from that awesome, amateur background. He did a lot of great things. He's a world champion. And I don't see, what is Edwin's path to victory? To beat Keyshawn. So that's what I'm struggling with before I tell you outright. Like I said, I'm uploading that video today. I mean, Keyshawn, 13-0, 9 knockouts. He's 26 years old. World champion. Beat Baranchik, beat Lemos, stomped him. Pedraza's Albright's fighting. This Anthony Idjit at the time was a decent one. So, Edwin there to get stepped on. Yeah. And when you look at Keyshawn's resume, even though he only has a handful of fights, it's not one of those guys. He's not one of those champions where, he just stepped up. So when he fought Baranchik, it's not like, all right, Keyshawn's stepping up for the first time and he gets a world title. Because we see what happens in those fights. A lot of times when guys have a career that's, going the right direction, but maybe their resume isn't as strong, and their first step up just happens to be for a world title, they don't always come out on top. You can't really say that with Keyshawn. He stepped up before the Baranchik fight. And that's why I'm thinking at 26 years old, he's going to be a tough out at 35. De Los Santos is more power than anyone he's ever sparred. Yeah, so, I mean, when Brian Norman Jr., when he talks, I listen. I'm a fan of Norman Jr. He has a tough fight coming up in Japan. There's some great boxing coming up, guys. But, this fight's at 35. Norman Jr. fights at 47. How big was Edwin sparring Norman Jr.? You know what I'm saying? And so, we know Keyshawn carries his weight really well, and he fills out really well. The guy's, in terms of, his proportion, you look at Keyshawn's frame and the division he fights in, this is the type of fighter, the size of him and how his reach is and everything. This is a guy that looks like you made him in a lab. 5'9". He only has a 70-inch reach, which is interesting, but 5'9", orthodox fighter, 26 years old. He has all the boxing skills. He's hungry for it. He could be aggressive when he wants to. He has good defense when he wants to. There's a lot of good things about Keyshawn. And it's interesting, a few years ago, when you had names, if you rewind it to 2022 or 2023, when all those guys, you had, Richardson Hitchens, which is now, he became a champion. Concern about EDLS inactivity. Yeah, you guys like that acronym EDLS. I threw that up in the community section. Somebody was like, EDLS sounds like a drug. It also sounds like a I'll take Keyshawn. He got hard. Yeah. At the end of the day, guys, when we cheer for fighters and fighters who speak to us, our personalities, it's tough to not like Keyshawn, man. Edwin matched Shakur pretty much in all phases, so he can match. Yeah, Edwin didn't match Shakur and being able to hit him though. That's important in boxing. I think this is Salamander, Edwin, Keyshawn. Yeah, I disagree with you saying Edwin matched Shakur on everything. No, he didn't. He couldn't even touch him. It's boxing. If you can't touch your opponent, you're not matching him. For Key and Edwin, do you see either fighter getting dropped? If you're gonna roll the dice, Will, on that, I could see De Los Santos getting dropped, but I bet you those odds are nice. Yeah, like I said, he doesn't have great defense, but when he needs it, it's there. Like, I haven't really seen holes in Keyshawn's defense to say that it's leaky. I mean, you wouldn't really say Keyshawn has leaky defense. I think sometimes fighters will box at the level, not both sides of the plate. I'm talking, if you're fighting a guy that you're going to walk down, you think you're going to beat, you're going to wash, you're going to finish, maybe you're not going to hold your defense as accountable as it should be against a guy you think you feel in danger against. I expect against De Los Santos, Keyshawn's probably going to feel a little bit more in danger than his last few fights. So I think his defense is probably going to be a little bit tighter initially. And then what you see happening is as the fight progresses, when they start making their reads and they start computing the data and they start feigning and they start seeing what their opponent's biting on, then you start seeing the defense getting a little lax for the sake of setting their offense up. But then on the other hand, the chess game of it is maybe their opponent is doing that on purpose and trying to show them something false, like a fake nuanced feint, and then catch them with like a lead counter. So this is why boxing is so fascinating. He took some unnecessary counters. Baranchik, I'm sure he'll take. That's what I mean, Frank. And we know Baranchik doesn't have the one pop shot. And maybe that was like early on, Keyshawn felt it. And he was like, all right, I could get away with it because angle, space, and distance and timing is everything in boxing. And sometimes, and we know this, and this is the beef on Shakur, but Keyshawn does this. You have to put yourself in risky situations to land riskier shots. Plant lost, and I was so happy he was being so rude. Oh, toxic. Let the Plant fight go, mate. you know I picked him to win. Caleb Plant was, I don't think Caleb was being disrespectful. I think Caleb was just being Caleb. You see Caleb's personality during fight week. It's pretty consistent every fight. And some guys have to do some guys have to be a certain way to get themselves up. I'm a fan of Resendez for how he handled that. Albright is a solid dog. I'm not gonna lie either, Meech. My only hesitation on the Albright fight this week. So many fights, landslide. So many fights. Guys, there's action for you Thursday night. Look at the Montreal card. 2 light heavyweights in the top 20. You got the Turkish light heavyweight who's ranked number 20, and you got Albert Ramirez, a Venezuelan light heavyweight ranked number 10. I got to feed my family, so he's going to have to find another way. Canelo fight purse, $6 million. Yeah, but then you got taxes with the American tax money. Then you got to pay your camp. Who knows how much in debt he is to outside money. So yeah, Kelvin Davis is fighting Albright. Kelvin's 15-0, Albright's 16-2. It's a fun fight. They doing Badu Jack? Badu Jack feels like it feels like the legacy on Badu Jack. And come on, we watched Badu's last fight. That was not exciting. And Badu Jack's up there. What is he? 42. When people talk about fighters like we were watching the Anthony Kakachi fight 3 weeks ago when Kakachi was fighting Lee Wood, and the announcers were saying Kakachi's having a Indian summer term used for like a late renaissance in their career. Kakachi, I think, is 35 or 36. A term used when like your summer in America goes past like September, or you have those warm days in October. So boxing analysts will use that phrase to kind of relate to a fighter in their mid-30s, late 30s, have a resurgence in their career. Badu Jack is in his 40s, and he's a cruiserweight champion. But I think it's matchmaking too. Is Albert Ramirez underrated? I think so, Jesus. I think Albert Ramirez is underrated. I've been watching his tape. Nobody talks about Albert Ramirez. How many light heavyweights can we name from Venezuela? You know what I mean? They're usually smaller fighters. And it's a fight nobody's talking about. My book is offering it. Albert Ramirez is ranked number 8 in the world. Do you have those? Yes. GOAT. I have those. Those are the Montreal card. Yeah, James, I think he is too. So the Montreal card, Albert, if Manny takes Barrio's belt, where does he go pound for pound list? Toxic. I can't believe that fight's going to go down. Boca Chica and Albright are live dogs this weekend. Mar the Prince. Exactly. So one of the adjustments I'm going to make when I'll start building my parlay tomorrow and showing you guys. I think I'm going to put less. I think I'm going to do not as many fights. I have to make adjustments. I hate when I lose. Is minus 10,000 for me. Yeah. Can't forget the Japan. No, we talked about it. Nakatani. I mean, the odds kind of suck here, but maybe we can make some early week money. So what I'm thinking of is that if you look at the Canadian card, and if you get method of victories, see, I got 1, 2, 3, 4. I got the 4 fights in Montreal. The odds are all shit, like you said. $1, $1, $6, $7, $12. If you want to create, we'll see if I might be tempted to create a little bit of momentum to get back on the winning streak because I have a bad taste in my mouth from Caleb. So if that means putting 100 on $1.37 to make $37 to roll that into the weekend just for some momentum, I might do that. I'm still pissed that I lost the Caleb fight. And the reason why I stopped talking about the Josh Taylor fight, because we won in Japan and we won in Mexico. You know what I mean? But generally believes Huni wins. Mate, BM, I'm high on Justis. And I get why people are hesitant on Justis because he isn't, you haven't seen him fight like on the world promotional companies like we've seen Wardley. And Wardley's had the viral knockouts. But Huni is a great boxer. And when you see how big he is in there, his head and his neck, Huni's neck is like this. And Wardley's a big dude too. But like, I don't know. But I think people are going to be surprised what they see with Justis in terms of how that guy at 6'4", how he moves and what he does, his athleticism. He's like a bigger, like in his Jai Apatai. These guys are like cut from the same cloth. Australia's really high on both of them. We already know Jai has marked his name. And people were talking about huge fights. He gets through a fight this weekend that he's supposed to get through. But there's so many fights, mate. So, yeah. Justis going to make Fabio look out. I think so. Flash. And that's what I mean. I think it's going to be one of those instances, one of those fights where it might be more boring. I could see it being more boring than people might think it will be. Because all Huni has, and this is me super minimizing the game plan, but all Huni has to do is avoid that power early, lean on Wardley, circle away from Wardley's backhand. We see Wardley get sloppy, throwing those big hooks. You know, be defensively responsible, work your jab. Wardley has a good jab too, though. So I think now from Wardley's side of things, Brian Norman Jr. Sasaki could be upset alert too. Norman, a great fighter with 19-1-7 now. Do guys serious crack? Yeah, Adam. But I mean, I like Brian Norman Jr.'s. Last fight, he fought about 8 weeks ago. We covered it here. He won by stoppage. You know, in the breakdown of that last fight, I was talking about his fight before, how Norman had some holes in his defense. In his last fight, he fixed that. He kept this up the whole time. And I think he's, what, 20, mid-20s now, world champion. Norman keeps leveling up. I think he stops Sasaki, but I'm not giving my official prediction. 4.5 rounds, yeah, I could see more. I could see going over 4.5 rounds. And if you're going to listen to me and pick Huni, I don't think Huni stops him in 4.5 rounds, but I think Huni wins. And that's why these method of victories or these over-unders I'm gonna play with this week because I don't really have experience doing that. I'm usually just a money line guy. But somebody asked me about Callum Simpson, another. I started the stream talking about Callum Simpson. He's headlining a card in England too. Ben, roll the dice, Davison, and Fabio's corner, all the more dangerous. Roll the dice, exactly. Not Ben Early, but it's being reported. Teofimo, yeah, I saw that, BM. And bro, last week I had Eduardo Nunez. We took him. A trend seems to be when these knockout guys face, it goes a distance. Yeah, I picked Sugar as the underdog. We got that victory over Rikishi, which was a hell of a fight. Guys, that's why I didn't post on our channel about Teofimo and Haney. I just knew something was up. And a year ago, I would post about potential upcoming fights when I was still figuring out the content I was giving you guys. You know, in the last 6 months, my content has been the most streamlined. Fight analysis, fight breakdown, fight prediction, and then a month ago, I started doing live streams. Before that, I would do like rumored fights and proposed fights, and I would read some of the comments from the smart boxing heads, and I would listen to the feedback. So yesterday when I saw The Ring, Punk Ass, Thrill, Punk Ass, some of the other guys, when I say punk ass, I mean, it's a term of endearment. I'm friends with these guys. When they were posting Teo and Haney are fighting, I was like, they're not fighting. I learned from you guys. Unless I see it on BoxRec, I'm not posting it. Leaning towards Giant Juto inside of 6. Fabio's getting better. I've heard him talk a lot. I think he's serious contender. I got him in the decision. Wow, Adam, you see him going the distance. I bet you those odds are gnarly. What is Fabio going the distance? So you're saying Fabio is going to outbox and win a points decision against Huni? That to me would be a bigger shocker than Huni getting knocked out. I want to. My lock of the week is this. This is my lock of the week. And it's about me being shocked. I would be more shocked if Wardley outboxes and wins a decision wins more rounds than Huni. Then I would be shocked if Wardley knocks Huni out, because I could see Wardley catching Huni and Huni getting stopped. But I cannot see. There's no path that But then again, I did not see Resendez beating Plant. So what do I know? And I definitely did not see Echo Usman beating Josh Taylor. So what do I know? But yeah, I would be shocked. And if you're dude, I bet you those odds are 10-1. Let's see what those odds are right now. Wardley to win by decision. There's so many fights now. Okay, Wardley, he's $1.33. Wardley by decision, my book says 5-1. Huni by decision, 6-1. So like I said, and Wardley by knockout, not quite 2-1. So if you're an odds guy, I know some of you bettors here. I see this fight as Wilder versus Usyk and Fabio versus Huni, but Fabio does have a puncher's chance, to be fair. Yeah, and we thought, guys, it wasn't that long ago where Wilder was the guy with, you got guys like Joe Rogan on his podcast talking about Wilder has the greatest X factor, Wilder's power is some of the best in the world. And for a while, we believed it, and we saw it, man. That one-punch knockout of Luis Ortiz when he was down was pretty impressive. Got Huni by knockout, honestly. So Huni by knockout, gnarly. So Huni by knockout is paying 7-1. And, when BoxRec, not the Bible. Yeah, BoxRec isn't the Bible, but BoxRec is usually legit when reporting on official signed fights. You've been in boxing longer than I've been. I'll definitely thanks, Frank B. But guys, about the BoxRec comment, reporting on official fight, they will only mark a fight, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, if it's signed and official with the commission. So when I hear Teo versus Devin, all these influencers are posting about it, I go to BoxRec, I'm like, that shit ain't official. And then unless it's official, I'm not going to post about it. Because I used to do that, and I listened to you guys. So, Jesus, not true. So you're saying... So Jesus, you're saying that BoxRec doesn't always post if it's not official? Or that I've never seen BoxRec post a fight when it wasn't official. You know what I'm saying? I've never gone to BoxRec and saw them with the yellow line, like a fight's going down, like you see right now with the Keyshawn fight. There's a yellow line. I've never seen them do that if the fight hasn't been signed officially. That's what I'm talking about. But, guys, we haven't even talked. What do you guys think about... Didn't surprise me at all. Teo Duck 10, he's a cloud chaser and a duck. Salute, Johnny. Happy Tuesday. Dwayne Styles, appreciate you. They have post-fights that never happened. They have post-fights. Okay, I can't recall. I remember before Usyk fought Fury, I told everyone Usyk would stop him. Then we seen the 9th round, the ref saved Fury for dear life. I've been watching boxing too long. I know what I'm talking. Yeah, Flash. I'm not down with what you're saying. Guys, wherever you're tuning in, let's like this video. Let's comment. If you want to watch my breakdown and prediction, even though you already know I'm taking Huni, that's in the playlist. If you're new to the channel, I say welcome. I do live streams like this every day, but I also do edited videos, professionally shot in my own studio here with my breakdown and analysis. So yeah, welcome to the channel. Like this video. Let's hear these bets, because did you guys know that? What do you guys think about Connor Wallace? Johnny, you making a bet on Thursday? Yes. Goat, I have to. I have to stick to my guns, Goat. I will be doing my money line parlay, so I got to get that out for you guys. It's already Wednesday. I'll give you my money line parlay tomorrow. And if you're keeping track, I'm 70 out of my last 72 money line parlays. Yes, I lost the Josh Taylor fight, and I lost punk-ass Caleb Plant. 70 out of 72 ain't bad. You got Huni, Ryan Hall. I'm leaning on Huni. Which fight is Huni's best performance? And so, ironically, Will, when people were asking me about, I like the Lorena fight. People talk shit. Lorena is a tough Southpaw, who proposes issues. He only has 2 losses. Thanks, Adam. I appreciate it. Yeah, Lorraine. Somebody in the comment section said that Fabio Wardley and Huni were chinny. And I was laying in bed last night, and that's when I read the comment, and I felt my heart rate go up. I'm like, fuck, don't comment back on this dude because you're not going to sleep for an hour. Guys, and I know you boys know this, being chinny is being knocked out and losing fights by knockout. Amir Khan was chinny. Fabio Wardley is not chinny. Do you bet other sports as a native? You know I do. I'm a diehard Buckeye fan. Yeah, guys, I'm a diehard Ohio State fan, diehard Cleveland sports fan. Ohio State football, it's in my blood. My uncle went there. I can tell you, this goes back to the, late 80s. Maurice Clarett is from my hometown, 2002 national. We won the title against the Miami Hurricanes in 2002 with one of the worst late pass interference calls of all time. We shouldn't have won that game on the goal line. That was the Ken Dorsey Miami Hurricanes team too, with like 7, 8, 9 NFL players, a few Hall of Famers. I think Frank Gore was there. He might have injured his knee. But that was the year where people always talk about Mo Clarett. Watch Mo Clarett's highlight tape. The best play, in my opinion, the top 5 college football plays of all time in that national title game. We're driving down to take the lead, and Craig Krenzel throws a pick, and it was and Sean Taylor picks it, and Taylor is running the ball back. There might be 3 minutes left, maybe 2 minutes left, and Mo Clarett cuts him down on an angle, not only catches him, but strips the ball and gives us the ball back. I'll never forget that. That if you're a football, and I'm a football head, I played football up until I was 18. I played quarterback from the time I was 7 to 18. I played outside linebacker. So I'm a nerd when it comes to the U.S. major sports, American football, baseball, basketball. Obviously, I'm a boxing head, but I find more credibility just focusing my channel on boxing. But I bet I win a lot of money on college football. Yeah, Adam, and I think Lorena, if we're talking about what Huni's best win is, that's his best win. And I think Huni's 26. Wally King just found the channel Gamble Every Day and Love Boxing. I like how you actually talk boxing, not the drama. Yeah, man, we're boxing heads. We forget Fabio got hurt against Gorman and Molina. Yeah, peeps think he's Superman. All these fighters. Flash, great point. Anyone can get hurt. Anyone can get hurt, man. And that's the drama. That's why we love fighters. My favorite fighters are guys who've been knocked out. We always talk about this fight will not be easy. No, I don't expect this fight to be easy for either guy. I think that what's going to happen, to answer your question, is we're going to know. I think we're going to see the narrative of this fight in the first 3 minutes. We're going to see if Wardley can get that jab going. We're going to see how much Huni tastes or how much he's willing to take in the pocket of what Wardley's given him. We're going to see how much Huni exits, how much he uses the ring. Something no one's taught, Huni uses the ring really well. You don't see a lot. There's some heavyweights who won't use the whole ring. And when you're thinking about the diameter, how big the ring is, how much work you're making your opponent doing without getting hit, so how much damage you're not taking also plays into a career. How much damage you're not taking. And in the heavyweight division, it's easy to take a lot of damage. Even though he's not a heavyweight, think about Caleb Plant's career. It's easy for us to look back, but he takes a lot of damage. He doesn't use the entire ring. Huni uses the entire ring. Best division to call upsets because they have big pop. Yeah. Adam, but at the same time, it's risky. Somebody on the page last week was like, is this a sure thing? And I'd go, there's never any sure thing in boxing. Can Huni take it, though? Fabio out here punching dents in heads. Fabio could crack. Yeah, but, dude, Huni is like, he could take it, man. The dude, I'm comfortable with that bet. Cracks in heads. That reminds me of the fight that was in, it was either in Bellator, if Lorena was a problem, Wardley is Huni's problem. Yeah, that's fair. Wasn't it MVP Michael Venom Page when he fought? He head kicked the dent in his head. It was gnarly. It was an MMA. It was one of the gnarly Cyborg. He head kicked Cyborg, and at the time it was MVP's Michael Venom Page's biggest step up. And dude, his skull was dented in. It's one of the nastiest strikes you'll see. And then you could go watch that on YouTube. But that's what he's talking about. If you're denting cars, thank God they wear the bigger gloves. The MMA guys wearing 4 ounces is insane. And then also head kicking people with the knee and the elbow and the foot. The heel on the reverse head kicks is nasty. I always think about the Terry Edom versus Edson Barbosa fight. I was watching that fight live. I think it was 2011. I was bartending in Las Vegas on the Las Vegas Strip in Planet Hollywood. And there was a fine dining steakhouse where like Schwarzenegger would come in there, Bernie Mac would come in there, rest in peace, Said the Entertainer. So all the celebs. And I'm working at this bar. It was called the Strip House. Like steaks were like $200, and I'm playing the UFC. And that was the famous reverse head kick, spinning heel kick that Barbosa caught Terry Edom with. And Edom was a prospect, right? Cota Mayorga knocked out a horse. Man, Mayorga was a fun fighter. You know, boxing's filled with these guys, chain smoking, you know, wild men, just wild men. You got to be a wild man to get in the ring for money. And that's why, you know, like to just throw your, like, at all, your health, your future, all aside for the glory of stopping or beating and just saying that I'm a better man than that man. That's awesome. What's your combat sports called when you can use your head? That's called Lethway. Lance, I did a documentary about this sport in 2020. It's on my YouTube channel. So I followed around Dave Leduc for 2 years. Dave Leduc is a Montreal Canadian guy who was training at Tiger Muay Thai in 2018 as a Muay Thai fighter. And the Thai government came to Tiger and they said, we're doing a reality show called Thai Prison Fights. Does anybody want to do this? The synopsis is the Tiger fighter will go into prison and fight a prisoner who's in prison for life or like horrific crimes. And if they beat you, they get their freedom. So Dave Leduc puts his hand up. He does Thai prison fights. He knocks out 3 Thai prisoners. So they not only don't get their freedom, they get starched. An official from the Myanmar government was there. And this is Burma, so modern day Myanmar. And they invited Dave to this underground sport called Lethway, which is Muay Thai, but it's bare knuckle. And unlike Muay Thai, you're allowed to use the head. So Muay Thai is the art of 8 limbs. Lethway is the art of 9 limbs. And Dave Leduc then goes to Myanmar, beats their undefeated legend named Tutu Min. Tutu Min had never been stopped. And Dave beats him. And then the Myanmar government put Dave on the dollar bill. This is all in my documentary. So if you guys and I would go to Yangon, Myanmar, the capital in Myanmar, we could find dollar bills, their currency, with a white Canadian on them. Let that sink in. Isn't that insane? They printed out, because Leduc became the first ever white to win a championship in Lethway. And Lethway is older than, it's where Muay Thai came from. Now the Laotians will say they invented it. The Cambodians will say they invented it. The Thais will say they invented it. But the Burmese Empire invented Lethway. About to watch it. Yeah, Landslide, it's on my playlist. Go under the section of documentaries and you'll see it. And I went to Hollywood. I pitched the documentary to Sony, and we ended up shooting it in Cyprus and Myanmar. Got training. DJ, have fun at training, guys. It is 7:15. It's been fun. We got a lot to do today, guys. It's an insane story. But yeah, I'm all in the fight game. And I mean Rob Huni. Guys, wherever you are, be sure to like this video. It really helps me out. Comment. Stay tuned to the channel. I do these live streams every day. Starting on Thursday, so I do 1 live stream daily, but on Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays, I do 2. So stay tuned. Tomorrow, I'll be building my long parlay. We got to get some money on it. There's a small pocket of Burmese and NDPLs. Yeah. James, well, Google Ongla Nsang. Ongla Nsang was the double champ in 1 championship. He's a buddy of mine. Ongla was the champ at middleweight and light heavyweight. And if you watch the UFC has a prospect named Deridier. Deridier just beat the hype train, the wrestler from America. His name slipped in my mind. But Ongla Nsang fought 2 fights against Deridier, and Deridier took Ongla's belts. But if you go to Yangon, Myanmar, there is a 20-foot bronze statue of Ongla Nsang. So like they're not all small. They're not all small. There's some big boys. There's some big boys in Myanmar, just like there are anywhere. But guys, stay tuned to the channel. Like I said, we'll be building our parlay starting tomorrow. We got the fights in Montreal. We got cards in America, cards in the UK, cards in Japan. Let's make this money.